Coming up on Locked On Nuggets, we're going to tell you why the Nuggets should not trade for Jimmy Butler, like at all. Like, do not. No, it's not a good idea. Plus, the latest on what we've heard on those potential talks. Also, should Russell Westbrook just be the starter? Like, could he just be the starter going forward? And we'll preview the homestand, starting with a big game versus the Boston Celtics. All that and more on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us Monday through Friday, being an everyday or hanging out with us. We do try and do the show for you multiple times a week. 5 times a week minimum, and we do the post-game shows as well. So make sure to check out all of our great content here, whether you're listening on the podcast or at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. We're so close to 8,500. Please, if you have not subscribed, go to youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets and hit the subscribe button. It will make me so very happy. It will make Ryan happy. It will make Swipe. Whichever one of us you prefer will be happy. And, just whichever one of us you like, just go ahead and do it for them. Appreciate you guys being with us. My name is Matt Moore. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn from Mile High Sports. You can catch him on the Pickaxe and Roll podcast. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Nope, by FanDuel. Just kidding. It's by FanDuel today. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right. So let's start right here. I teased last night on the show. As far as I know, to the best of my knowledge from the people I have talked to, the Denver Nuggets are not actively in conversations for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
So those are not ongoing, with the caveat that things change very quickly, that there have been talks in the past, and that sometimes this front office can move like lasagna in silence. The G in lasagna. I screwed that up. But like the G in lasagna, it can move in silence. So that can definitely change. But I am here to say right now, and Ryan, I think you feel the same, that's not the move for Denver. It doesn't make any sense for Denver to acquire Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I've heard some of the same things, that it might happen, and nobody's going to tell anybody if it does actually happen. It would be something that you're not going to hear a lot of rumors about it before it actually goes down. But it's probably not going to go down. And the reason is because the fit is not very good, despite the fact that the talent is good. Jimmy Butler is undoubtedly a great talent in the NBA. And there is a reason why teams want to take a chance on him, because he has that kind of alpha dog mentality where he could make some big shots. He's versatile. He can do a lot of different things. He's a good defender when he wants to be. He's big. He gets to the free throw line. He does a lot of great things for a team to win basketball games. But that is just one aspect of having him on your basketball team. And I just can't imagine that this Nuggets group would survive the Jimmy Butler era, because frankly, none of the other teams have survived the Jimmy Butler era.
It'd be great for a while.
Yeah.
It's always great for a while. Brings toughness. I think Yoke would appreciate him, and I think like him and Russ would get along. They're both like fierce competitors. Jimmy's a lot to deal with, and that's not, it's really funny because now that this is happening now, if you listen to the Miami Heat podcast, now they're like, it's actually been like really tough. And like a lot of people have had like a really hard time with Jimmy when they didn't say any of this, because it was like they were winning and they were like, no, it's fine. Heat culture. That's all that it, like heat culture. And it's like heat culture barely kept this thing together.
Yeah.
And they made those finals runs and they were really impressive. I think they were flukish, but they were still really impressive. Butler is a great passer. He's a capable defender at times. One of the biggest reasons not to do this is you have to include MPJ just to start getting near the salary limit. By doing so, you are taking a volume 3-point shooter, one of the few that Denver has, the only that Denver really has, and moving him for a player that simply does not take a lot of threes. He's not bad when he takes them, but he doesn't take a whole lot. You're also taking a player who has prided himself, despite his back injuries, on his availability and tries very hard to play in as many basketball games as possible, and trading him for a 35-year-old that wants a big money contract going forward, who doesn't want to play in regular season games. That was a big part of this dispute, is that Jimmy wanted to be able to play about 50 games a year on a max contract. He thought that that was appropriate given what he'd accomplished in the playoffs. Does this sound familiar to anyone else? And so what you've got here is you've got Porter going out the door. I think it would have to be Porter along with Zeke and Dario. You'd be getting rid of two bigs who are not playable, but you're also not getting one back because you can't take back any more money because of the second apron. It doesn't make any sense.
They'd have to work in a third team because like both Miami and Denver are over the first apron. It gets pretty complicated. You have to make sure to make it work from a variety of ways. And yes, there are of course ways that they could try to facilitate this if they wanted to. But the real thing that we're getting to here is that they shouldn't want to try to do this. Like you can't be in such a desperate position that Jimmy Butler is the answer. And I don't think that Jimmy Butler solves the problems that the Nuggets have. I'm just looking at the stat head comparison here that everybody loves to post when comparing their favorite players. Jimmy Butler to Michael Porter Jr. Mike's averaging 19 points per game. Jimmy's at 17.6. He has been unwilling or unable to take enough shots for a Miami Heat team that desperately needs shot takers, given the fact that Bam Adebayo has regressed a little bit as an option, and they have so many off-ball options. They need somebody to be an on-ball creator for them, and Jimmy has not been able or willing to do it. So it's fascinating to see the dynamics here at play. In theory, if Jamal was actually spacing the floor well, if he was aggressive from behind the three-point line, you could talk yourself into it. If KCP was here, you could talk yourself into it. The problem is they have Christian Brown as their starter. They don't have a two guard that really spaces the floor. And as a result of that, you can't just work in Jimmy Butler, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, because you don't have the spacing around it to really make it work.
I'm going to look at the numbers right now. My question for you is, if they do this deal and they let Jimmy Butler walk in the offseason, is that going to get them into actual cap space?
No.
Okay.
Because you've got Nikola making upwards of $50 million. You've got Murray at 46. Fortunately for them, Aaron Gordon is still at the $22 million number. But I mean, if they get off of Zeke Naji's contract and Michael Porter's contract, and they're trading Dario in that deal, then maybe you could talk yourself into like clearing up enough space to offer the MLE. But that's not really going to get you much of anything. So that's tough. That's a tough thing. And I mean, of course, Denver would be interested in getting cheaper, Matt. We know this. We understand this. But is that really the move you want to make in order to do it? I can understand why. I think if they also decided that they wanted to trade Jamal in this next offseason, then maybe that's how you go big game hunting and you try to kind of reshape your books a little bit. So there isn't like a long-term vision in terms of getting a salary on your books that expires that you don't want to take back. But it's just so dangerous. And you're talking to Nikola Jokic about this and you're saying, okay, we're going to basically punt on this season. Or we're not going to punt, but like, we're going to reshape the entire organization. We're going to reshape the entire team. He better be on board with it. And if he's not, then you're risking so much more than just a bunch of trades.
So they've got, I'm looking at Spotrac, and they've got $199 million on the books for next year, 199.48. Good God. If they lose $50 million between Butler, or 47 between Butler and Pal Larson, who would come back in the deal.
Sure.
That gets you just below what this has got listed as the cap maximum before the cap holds, which they could theoretically renounce all of the cap holds. And that would maybe get them into space. I don't know what that does for you. The only other problem with this is that Butler's got a player option. And so if he doesn't find the market he wants, he could just opt in and be like, I'm going to push this down the line and try and do this again. And then you're back in that same kind of situation. Like, I honestly don't mind the idea if Denver could do a rental that would open up the ability to actually have cap space to be like, let's just reconfigure in free agency around Joker. I think having that flexibility might not be a bad plan, even though free agency is very limited these days. Interesting conversation actually from George Sedano on the 5 Reasons Sports podcast. He predicted that free agency will kind of make a return over the next couple of years, and he made a really compelling case for it. So like, I like that idea for Denver, but I just don't know if this is the move that's actually going to be able to get them there.
Yeah, I mean, would it be a name? It would be a name. It would be a talent. It would be somebody that they could add to their mix for sure. And I see some of the advanced stats, and like, look, Russ had some pretty solid advanced numbers overall that showed, hey, he's a little bit more valuable than he was letting on, despite the fact that the fit was a little bit questionable. And then they made the fit work because the talent was there. Maybe they could do the same thing with Jimmy. Maybe other guys can kind of reconfigure their games. Maybe this is just an opportunity for Julian Strawther to play a little bit more at the 2 because they've got Jimmy Butler at the 3 as opposed to Michael Porter Jr. So I don't know. I don't know what it ultimately looks like, Matt, but I do think that it's just like that. That's not the name that I'd be targeting. Like, I've already argued for Zach LaVine. I don't know if that's ultimately going to happen, or do I think that a lot of people agree with me on the Zach LaVine aspect of things? But I think it fits better.
I just think that there's kind of been a realization that that's not what they need.
Yeah.
That it's like, Mike's been so good offensively. It's like, what are you adding? Because it's like, if you look at the obvious needs of this team, it's like they need another wing defender and a backup big. And Zach
I would
LaVine
just say like high level pick and roll DHO threat.
Yeah, for sure. Like you might be right that it makes them better. It just doesn't. It's like it makes them better while they maintain the same level of problems, and everyone's kind of trying to fix the problems.
Of course.
And you can't always do that. Like, sometimes you just have weaknesses as a team. Like, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. So like, I think it's fair to be like that kind of approach. On the other side, the Nuggets are having a great season from Russell Westbrook. A great season. And when he's with the starters, it's excellent. What does that mean? What does that mean for the future? We'll talk about the question everybody's been asking us to talk about. Should Russell Westbrook start? We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Nuggets. Basketball season's heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with PrizePicks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, PrizePicks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Think LeBron's going to drop 30 points, or maybe Luka's getting more than 8 assists. PrizePicks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. It's so much fun. You can get on it. Obviously, look, just start taking over the more on every single Jokic thing. He's going to have more than this many points, more than this many rebounds, more than this many assists, because he keeps blowing past these numbers consistently. Now's the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Monday. Make sure to check out LockedOnDaily.com. You can sign up for the Denver Nuggets Locked On Nuggets newsletter. We do this every day, Monday through Friday. You get on Tuesday after the Celtics game, I'll do a rundown of the 10-piece, the things that you need to know about it, quotes from the locker room, in-depth analysis. You get Katie Heindel's writing, you get Mike Shearer's writing. You're going to enjoy it. As a basketball fan, you're going to love it. Just check it out. The Raptors one just passed 1,000 subscribers. The Raptors. Show up for us. Go to LockedOnDaily.com and sign up. And don't let Sean Woodley be positive. You can click on the button down, way down there. All right. Russell Westbrook's been awesome with the Denver Nuggets, especially as a starter, Ryan. And there's a lot of questions, and like a lot of this is just like Russ good, Jamal bad. And it turns out that pretty much everybody is good with Jokic, but I will say there are very few players that I think maximize Jokic. I think there are very few players that make Jokic better. I think Jamal, when he's not playing, when he's not having a rough season by comparison to previous seasons, is a player that makes him better. I think Aaron Gordon makes him better. I think Bruce Brown made him better. I think KCP made him better. But I do think that Russell Westbrook makes him way better. And it's been great because like Russ and him have this great chemistry, and we've talked about that. So now like there's a lot of conversation. I want to get your thoughts on this because I have a pretty hard and fast rule. Like I think this is a concrete thing that Christian Braun is not getting removed from the starting lineup no matter what. But you and I both agree there is no scenario in the universe where Jamal Murray gets benched for Russell Westbrook. Not one. You do not bench your franchise max extension, just gave it to him, won you a title, point guard. Just politically, it doesn't happen. That's not going to occur. But like Christian, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's more likely than Jamal. And MPJ, you can't bench. He's playing awesome. So the only options are are CB and AG. Let's talk about CB first. If you want to make room for Russell Westbrook in the starting lineup, would you bench Christian Braun and play Russell Westbrook?
I mean, I would. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the right call. It's what they should do. It's what the team is actually going to do. I continue to maintain that what they will do is they'll go back to what they started with on the opening night. They will have Russ go back to a sixth man role, and they will try to make it work from there. If that doesn't work, then it kind of opens up the door, or maybe it just doesn't work well enough. It of course opens up the door for them to try different things. And what we've seen with Russ and Jokic together over the course of these past few weeks, especially, has been tremendous. I'm looking at the numbers on Cleaning the Glass. Plus 13.4 net rating when Jokic and Russ share the floor together. That is tremendous. And it's on 1,300 possessions. So this isn't some small sample size that we're working with here. What I will say is that when Russ and Jokic are on the floor without Christian Braun, the number drops to plus 5.9. I think it's a little bit underrated, the defense that Christian does provide in this mix. When he's out there, just looking at the numbers, 125.7 offensive rating in those looks, 119.8 defensive rating in those looks.
You went to Cleaning the Glass, and I went to PvP stat. So I've got the actual splits for the lineups.
Okay.
Russ, Jokic, Porter, and Murray without Christian Braun. 133 offensive rating, 103.5 defensive rating for plus 29.6 net in 84 minutes.
Yeah, tremendous. Like that is a four-man group. And I've argued it before. I think on Cleaning the Glass, it was even higher just a few days ago. It was now like 145 offensive rating for that stretch. Just bonkers. Like they've been killing it with that particular quartet.
By the way, and it's only 32 minutes, so we're talking about very, like Adam would be like, this is all small sample, none of this matters. But Russ, Christian, Porter, and Murray without Jokic is 137.5 offense, 112 defense for a net 24.6. That quartet without Joker has won its minutes by 25 points per 100. That's promising. That's interesting. Right?
There's at least some arguments that you can build some different groups. They've tried the Peyton Watson small ball look. I'm sure that there are some Aaron Gordon minutes in there, but mostly it's probably DeAndre Jordan and Dario Saric.
And here's the tough one. Russ, Christian, Joker, and Porter without Murray is plus 19.8 in 222 minutes.
We've seen that before with Reggie Jackson and Christian Braun replacing Jamal and KCP in some of those looks that they killed last year. There's no doubt that, especially in the mid to late first and third quarter stints for the most part, Denver does pretty well in those looks. And at least they did well with that last year. I think you and I looked at this offline. They're pretty good in the first quarter, not as good in the third quarter on those particular bench stints with Joker. But I do think that there is room to play around with this. And one thing that we knew going into this, that Murray, Porter, Gordon, Jokic, that's your core. Those are the four guys that have to be in the starting lineup to me. Christian is the one that they were going to try, that they were going to look at, because everybody thinks he has growth potential. He's going to be valuable, want to see what he looks like. But I just look at this and think, I'm following the money, Matt. There's no other way that I can look at this other than looking at the money and saying, yeah, that's a tough look.
Ownership being like, hey, so I give this guy $100 million and he's coming off of the bench. Why? Why did you have to give him $100 million? I will say, look, I will continue to say this over and over again. The most likely outcome for the Russell Westbrook experience is that he has a lot of really great moments. He starts to tail off towards the end of the season. The shooting has a really horrific month in which Ryan is making just god-awful sounds as he clanks up jumpers. I come on here trying to defend him. People are mad at him then. And then the playoffs come around and he's borderline unplayable. That's the most likely scenario. I don't want that to be the case. Like, I want it to be, my dream scenario would be that Russell Westbrook wins a title with Denver. It validates Russ's career. It validates Joker as the player that elevates players the most of any player in NBA history. Like, he got Russell Westbrook a ring is such an incredible storyline. And like Russ having redemptive moments that he can just cram down the throats of every Lakers fan that blames him for their franchise's dysfunction is chef's kiss.
Oh yeah. It'd be awesome.
But it's just not likely to happen because I've seen what's gone on in the playoffs with him in Houston and with the Clippers. Like, let's remove the Lakers stuff. Just Houston and the Clippers. It was a problem. Russ had the worst shooting performance in NBA history across a certain number of games and attempts in terms of true shooting last season in the playoffs with the Clippers versus a Mavericks team that they very well could face again. Like, the ways that this works out are very narrow. If it does, I'll talk about that. And I'll be like, you know what? He proved everybody wrong and they proved everybody wrong. And that's a great story. But that's one reason not to do this is like, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you've relied all season, for most of the season, rather, over a half a season on Russell Westbrook as a starter. Russell Westbrook is this component. Russell Westbrook is this big a part of the team. And then you can't bench him when it gets to the playoffs because he's such a big part of you. He's got to be a component you can plug in or out. And not being able to do that, I think, is damaging. Now, the other thing here, I think, with Christian is, one, ownership loves him. Ownership wants Christian Braun to start. That's my opinion, is that Christian ownership, not just management believes in him. They drafted him. They believe in him. Ownership believes in him too and wants him to start. He's a cheap option. It's homegrown talent. You bench him, and this shooting stretch that he's been on, which has been poor, been a big corner 3-pointer the other night, that might get worse. His confidence gets broken. And you don't want a young player in this position. Christian has like leveled up. Now, on the confidence side of things, I will say that I'm not too worried about Christian because Christian has such a great level head on his shoulders.
Right. Like,
CB has been nothing but like the best professional I could have imagined for a player in his position at this age. But I think it's got to be part of the equation here. I also worry about when AG gets back, AG has to start.
I was gonna ask about that just because you are right about it, and I just said, hey, let's follow the money here. Let's follow the guy that's having the extension. If he's had injury issues and you want to make sure that he's good to go, ready to go for the playoffs, does it make sense to play him 20 to 25 minutes off the bench on a consistent basis and say, hey, we're not going to overload you. We want you in the lineup most of the time, and we're probably going to close with you on most nights, but in these games where we don't need you the entire time to play 30 plus minutes, maybe it's best for the team and maybe it's best for you physically to try to lessen your workload.
I just can't see it.
It's a good argument, but I can't see it either.
You know, I do think that AG, like, Joker's going to have AG's back no matter what.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
I worry a lot about the Russ AG combos. And not just because of the stuff that Swipa goes nuts over in terms of the late game spacing. I just worry that, look, and again, if AG keeps shooting like this, that helps. Russ has been okay. If he keeps shooting like this, it helps. It's just like, it's always going to feel real dicey. And when you don't want to build something that the bottom could drop out suddenly. And that, to me, I think is my concern.
I think the Russ Christian AG combo is where you really start to get into issues, especially playing next to Joker. If you play AG at center, not that you're not gonna want to over time. I think you could play Russ AG and run a 1-5 pick and roll with those guys and be okay. But it's not what you want to go to over and over and over again throughout a season. So I understand that too. I do think that like Russ at point guard or Jamal at shooting guard, MPJ, the 3, AG at the 4, Jokic at the 5. It should work in theory.
We'll see. The reality of this is probably that this is a conversation only fans and us will have, and I do not think internally this will ever be a conversation. That when the starting 5 is available, the starting 5 will play, and Russell Westbrook will come off the bench. That was the agreement when Russ was brought here. That's been the agreement when this team is brought together. I do not think that changes.
He's the first round.
Up next, we'll talk about the homestand. We'll talk about the Boston Celtics game. We'll talk about the upcoming games versus some tough Western Conference opponents. We'll talk about that next year on Locked On Nuggets. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. I'm not going to do it today. Okay?
They won.
Made the playoffs. You played great. You're in the playoffs. You're 7.5, now 8.5 point underdogs to the Buffalo Bills on the road. I think that the Broncos are the type of team that is very dangerous because I've seen time and time again teams with a good defense and a playmaker that can run as a quarterback can make runs that are surprising. They have a lot of playmakers. This team is better than I thought I was. I think that they're very good. I had some fun on Twitter about who you face today. That's totally fine. I'm not going to extend it. Best of luck to you in the playoffs. Hopefully we'll see you for the Arrowhead Invitational. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. Here's a great one. You can bet Joker at a bigger number because Shea beat the Celtics on Sunday. He moved back into an even bigger position as the MVP favorite. So you can get Joker at plus 130 and then grab Cade Cunningham to be most improved player with Jaden Ivey out. And that number is going to get you to plus 720. That's a really good return on two bets that I think have a really high EV. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today to get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Did I do good there? Was that like,
you know what? I think you're building bridges here as opposed to burning them. So thank you for that. I think everybody drop those 5-star reviews in the comments and credit Matt with just extending the olive branch, branch. Cause all you want is for us to take out Josh Allen
like,
in the play.
I thought that was like, I was trying to be really nice. Yeah. The same way that beating a team missing pretty much all of its guys and playing the practice guys and then crowing about it is nice. All right, let's talk about the 5-game homestand for the Denver Nuggets. 3-game homestand this week, actually. Let's talk about how those games are going to go. They face the Boston Celtics on Tuesday, coming off of a loss. Not the ideal situation to face Boston coming off of a loss. Yeah. They tend to not take that well. They tend to bounce back pretty badly. Hey, what does Denver do a lot? Give up a lot of three-pointers. What does Denver do? Not make a lot of three-pointers. I have very little expectations for that. Like, I've loved the Celtics matchup for Denver the last 2 years. I've been like, Denver's better than them. Denver's going to beat them. Like, we picked them to win those games in Denver. I don't think they're winning this one.
So the Celtics have lost 2 in a row exactly one time this season, and it was on December 23rd against Orlando, and then they lost the follow-up December 25th on Christmas, of course, against Philly, in a game that they probably should have won, if I'm being honest. So that's a tough one. That's going to be a tough one for the Nuggets without Aaron Gordon to kind of match up with Jason Tatum. You're looking at Michael Porter and you're saying, hey, you're probably going to have a pretty tough matchup here. I would expect them to run Russell Westbrook guarding Jaylen Brown and Christian Brown guarding Jason Tatum, and then to bring in Peyton Watson pretty quick to mix and match with those guys. I don't think that they have Michael Porter guarding any of them, and I don't think that they have Murray if they can help it.
Guard Horford with Murray is what I would do.
No, I can have Jokic guard Drew.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
And then MPJ guards Porzingis. And Christian guards Tatum.
Well, they're not starting both of Horford and Porzingis. They'll start just one of those guys, right?
Maybe. We'll see. They might start them both because they might want Horford to guard with Porzingis as the weak line or backline defender.
Well, who are you benching then between White, Holiday, Brown, and Tatum?
They've done it before because they've benched White and brought him off the bench.
I don't think they can do that now, right? He's too good.
Maybe. Possible.
He's their second best player. Never mind. I can't actually say that seriously.
He would be Denver's second best player.
I know that.
But yeah, look, I think it's tough. The bench minutes are really, really tenuous here. You got to win those. You can't let Peyton Pritchard beat you. And I have a feeling Peyton Pritchard is going to beat him. And that's going to be really rough. I might bench Russ and start Peyton Watson here.
Ooh. All right. I think it makes sense from a wing size perspective.
Yeah. I would want Peyton Watson on Tatum and Christian Brown on Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. And
then have Jamal guard Drew. And Michael Porter Jr. No, have Porter. This gets tough. I still kind of think, have Porter guard Porzingis and have Jokic guard Drew.
All right. And Murray on Derek White.
And then take the Grizzlies approach of leaving Drew Holiday wide open.
That was a very interesting game. It threw off Boston's game plan for sure. And Drew had an interesting night, but he's capable of beating Denver, but it's probably the bet that you have to make.
After they face the Boston Celtics, they turn around and have a Wednesday game versus the Los Angeles Clippers.
Great.
Are you excited? I'm not going to be there because I have shows I have to do. Are you excited for this?
Thank God. I'm gonna complain and moan so much about having to see the Clippers again. God, it's just brutal. No, look, it's going to be interesting. The last time Denver faced the Clippers, they waxed them, and it was a very weird first half, and then Denver really got serious in the second half. So we'll see what both teams bring this time. Denver, obviously, aren't they on a second night of back-to-back once again? I think that is true.
Oh, yeah. They're on the back. Yeah, they're on back.
Yeah, so they're 7-0 on second night of back-to-back. So Matt, just pencil in the win, especially after they lose to Boston on Tuesday.
They are wearing the Mile High City jerseys.
Oh, they'll win.
Okay. All right. Friday they play the Nets. That's a win.
Yeah, it's got to have to be, right?
It'll be closer than you want it to be, but it'll be a win. I feel like it's gonna be like one of those where it's like they're trailing at half and everybody's like, oh boy, here we go again. And then the Nuggets win by like 15, 20. The Nets really they trade Cam Johnson, they traded Dennis Schroeder. They are making sure that they capture the flag. It is that time for them.
Yeah. And that's what they had to do. They were doing pretty well initially. And then I think they saw the Eastern Conference dropping out from under a few teams like Charlotte and Toronto. And they're like, we got to go catch them. Let's go.
Range Robe says we switch out on defense a lot, but Joker shouldn't start on Drew, as that will get Drew in rhythm. That's not what happened with the Grizzlies. I'm just gonna tell you that. It's the one weakness for them right now is that Drew Holiday is looking old, and you want to take advantage of that. It's the best tactic, because if you're going to give up threes, give them up to Drew Holiday and nobody else. I cannot stress this enough. They have to live with Tatum or Brown slipping picks and getting the rim or posting up Jamal. And it's tough and it's hard and it's difficult. I get it. You cannot if they let them shoot 46 threes or more, the Nuggets are going to lose. They cannot survive it.
Over under 1.5 3-shot fouls the Nuggets commit against the Celtics.
Over. They'll do 2.
I was very close to putting the line at 2.5.
Yeah.
2.5
I bet under because it's just rare, but boy, that's a sharp line at 2.5. No bet. Sunday they play the Mavericks. No Luka for that game. Possibly Kyrie Irving if he's back, but he's got a lumbar problem now. Huh. They're really getting banged up. They're gonna be that team that everyone writes off because they haven't had their guys, and then they get together and then make a run late in the season.
Yeah.
So they play Sunday in Dallas and then again on Tuesday in Dallas. So I guess on Monday they can go to the John F. Kennedy Assassination Museum at the Book Depository, which is really cool, by the way.
Yeah, not a meme. Sounds pretty cool.
Have you ever been?
No, I've been to the Alamo though. I missed that trip today or last game.
There's a Bill Hicks bit, an old comedian that I like very much.
Yeah,
And it's very true when I finally went to the book depository, which is that you can go to the window where Lee Harvey Oswald shot from, and it's really neat because you look at it and you realize there's no way he made that shot. There's no way. Not possible. I am the most anti-conspiracy person. Like, we have become a society that has gone off the rails with the conspiracy nonsense. But I know an uncomfortable amount about the Kennedy assassination. And you look out and you're like, why wouldn't he just shoot him coming down Elm? Why wouldn't he just shoot him coming down Elm? There's zero reason not to shoot him coming down. It's the best shot in the world. You would get 3 shots on him before he turns the corner. The only reason you wait is if you can triangulate with the grassy knoll.
That's hilarious. That's now I have to go. Now I have to go see it and really go see it for myself.
Watch don't you have to watch the entire movie? Go watch the clip from JFK where they talk about the sequence of the shot and how fast it is and how it's not possible. And then look at that window and you'll just be like, yeah, there's no reason. There's no way. No way. All right. That's going to do it for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Right. Look, Adam Mares has birds. I have the Kennedy assassination. We all have our stuff. Thanks for joining us. Have yourselves a great Monday. We'll see you guys again Tuesday for Swipa and then that night for postgame here on Locked On Nuggets.